morning to all. In today's class, we are going to be saying about modules. Generally, while we are saying about module in the previous session, also we have just connected that with that interface. What we have defined about the characteristic of the classes. Continuity with the same. Angular apps is going to be using a modular design. Modular, generally in general, modules are highly recommended. Why? Because they are just going to be allowing each and every code into a separate files. Like we are going to be importing each and every component separately. Use that corresponding class what you have created. You are just going to be using the term called export. So in this module, using usage of module, TypeScript and Angular is going to be playing a role as import external modules at the top of a file and export the corresponding functionality at the bottom using the following code. Call that corresponding import component from the corresponding Angular core. Based on the class which we have defined, the class app which we have defined, we are going to be exporting the same. Next, we are going to be saying about directives. What actually directives? Generally, we have just already previous classes and all we have just told about preprocessor directives, where we are just going to be defining the constant on top of the corresponding hash include. In this case of JavaScript classes, it is going to be saying as a user interface. What is the corresponding user interface functionality of the Angular application going to be done? This mainly defined off with the three types of directives. One is structural directive. Next is nothing but attribute directive. So structural in turn is going to be defined as a creation, how the corresponding elements is going to be created and how the component is going to be created. Next, attribute as attribute directive, how the changes of the appearance at the background, how the window is going to be defining using the corresponding HTML elements with the help of the HTML attributes. Now, the first and foremost is nothing but the component. The component directive is going to be getting incorporating all the templates, functionality templates which have been associated with the JavaScript as a self-contained UI element. Next, we are just going to be saying about binding. Already also we said about binding. What is a binding agent? How the corresponding client and server is going to be getting activated. In between as an interface, the corresponding agent is going to be saying lying. That agent is going to be saying how the corresponding front end, that is client, is going to be getting activated to the corresponding server, how the message is going to be getting passed. The same way, the corresponding process of linking data from a component with a web page, that is nothing but your data binding. In this case, when a data is going to be keep on changing on a corresponding page, the model is always getting updated. Once for all the model is getting updated, automatically the corresponding web page is also going to be getting updated. Next, the corresponding source of the data is going to be getting represented with the user and the separate view for projecting the information to the corresponding database. How the corresponding projection with the model is going to be defined using a dependency injection. This also already we have studied in the case of SQL while we are studying about structured query language, and also the deployment coding in .NET and all. We might have studied about SQL injection. This injection is nothing but a process how the corresponding component is going to be defining each and every dependencies with the other components. So we in future class we are going to be saying about various Angular components. In that we are going to be defining each and every built-in directives separately. See, in this case of depending injection, we are going to be saying a consuming service. What is a service actually? Already in the previous classes and all, we have just said about HTTP request access, HTTP response access. For that corresponding request and response, how about the services going to be getting incorporated the same into the component, and how the corresponding functionality with the corresponding component code will survive. So this is nothing but the services in this single tone. It means it is going to be making use of only a one class which is going to be providing the functionality for a web app which is going to be currently activated. In this case, as an example, the Angular is going to be providing a HTTP service for accessing the web server. So in this case, basic uses, we are going to be defining the built-in service component as HTTP request, logging, parsing, and animation. So already we told about request object. Logging is nothing but how the user credential is going to be given. Parsing is nothing but how the corresponding string type is going to be getting converted to a number. In such a way, the parse int is going to be doing the role. And then one more, the new constant component we are going to be saying here is nothing but your animation. In this case, how the corresponding services has been used throughout the code, how we are going to be reusing the same. So in this case, as Angular CLI comes, already we told about what is the CLI, that is command line interface. In this CLI, the corresponding Angular application is streamlined based on the corresponding streamlining, how the new Angular application will be built, how the components for the same Angular will be done, what is the directive, corresponding directive we are going to be making, and what are all the pipes involved in the same, and how the pipe is going to be doing the functionality of the streamlining, overflow, and underflow, and how the services, the app services, is going to be done over here. The same way, as a purpose of the corresponding CLI comes, it is going to be getting generated for the content application, how it is going to be getting automated the process of bootstrapping and creating. So bootstrapping, that is nothing but bootstrap loader, bootstrap module, like that you might have studied previously in the case of compiler design and all. So how the bootstrap sector is going to be taken care of running a corresponding coding with the loading error and the linking error. In this case of the new Angular application, how we are going to be creating that we already told about this corresponding command, that is ng. Ng is nothing but going to be creating a new project. Ng followed by new followed by first is the corresponding syntax for creating a new application in order to run the Angular. Next we're going to be saying the running command, run to launch a corresponding server, that is nothing but ng serve. Once for all, you're just giving ng serve, it is going to be rendering the corresponding application to launch. That is what running the basic Angular application. Next, these are all the things that is going to be getting navigated, that is from the file, from the source, that is src app. Under app you will be finding app.components.ts, like that. Once for all, creating a corresponding Angular app, once for all the corresponding new ng new followed by the corresponding new uh, project name, once for all you're giving, it will be building the packages. What all the packages will be getting involved in the previous classes also I've told. That is nothing but ng underscore module will be created, packages.json will be created, followed by src will be having, app will be having. If you click on the src, what are the corresponding source file related app? If you're clicking, what are all the corresponding components will be created? That is what here it is representing as app.components.ts. ts is written here TypeScript. So in this case, how we are going to be importing the component which we are in use, that is what import component from. At the rate of Angular we are going to be importing, that's what Angular slash code component. We are going to be selecting which template I just want to select, what is the corresponding export, using which component class we are going to be exporting the corresponding component as title of my first Angular app. So how the corresponding component module is going to be imported using the selector and the template. So this is already we told about ng. What is ng module? In order to make use of the corresponding Angular decorator, you're going to be placing the imports, declaration, bootstraps. Already we told about imports, exports separately. Declaration, declaring the corresponding variable for making use of the module to run in a single location. So for that, we are just going to be bootstrapping all the files, concatenating all the files, making segregate all the files to a corresponding larger location into a very easy way. So this ng module is going to be having several metadata. Metadata is nothing but data about a data, which is going to be allowing different things to be imported, exported, and bootstrapped in the following way. Providers we are having, the providers is nothing but like previous classes and all in the .NET we might have studied, that is OLEDB database provider. What is OLE? That is nothing but object linking and embedding database service provider. So access you want, for that separate provider will be there. SQL you want, for that separate SQL provider will be given. So this is going to be acting here as an array of injectable object in such a way, what all the available injector is available, that can be made use for using the current module. Likewise, only the declaration, how the corresponding array is going to be defined over here with the help of directives, pipes. Otherwise, what component you are making use of. Imports the same way, directives, pipes, and components, which are all the things available within the current module I can make use of. I can import the same, I can export, I can do the entry components. Likewise, bootstrap, it is nothing but an array of components that will be bootstrapped when the current process, that is nothing but when the current module is bootstrapped. These are all the corresponding ng modules. Next, we are going to be saying, this is a sample code, how the import browser module, ng module, forms module will be working, HTTP module will be working. Previously, we have just created a chap 3 component, how we are going to be getting incorporated everything with using a single code with the ng module. This is the sample example here with the at the rate ng module, declaration, imports, providers, what is a bootstrap, how the corresponding export class with the app module will be working on. Thank you.